everyone, welcome back to another week on the show, Easy Oil Painting. If you're joining me for the very first time, it's a show where I just teach beginners and amateurs nice easy techniques in oil painting. This week I am going to try something a little different. It's something I put up on my Facebook page and I got a lot of good reviews and a lot of requests. People asking me, please do a tutorial on this because we'd love to see how you got this kind of effect. I'll show you the painting I did. Now the one I'm going to do is going to be very similar to this. There it is, don't know if you can see that. And it's of the burning of Cork back in 1920 when we were having the War of Independence. It's just something I felt I wanted to try because I was very kind of captivated by the effects of the smoke and that type of thing in buildings. So I tried it and it turned out quite nice, I think. There's a proper look down for you. So I got lots of great reviews and I said I'll try something like this this week. I'm not going to paint the very same scene again because otherwise I'll just have two paintings exactly the same. It's difficult enough trying to sell one painting. So I'm going to try another one. It's a scene from the same time, the same period. It's just slightly different, but we're still going to have the same basic effects and using the same techniques. And also, another one I did with my students in class was this one. And I got another lots of good reviews on that as well. So there we go. It's done with a knife, a palette knife. Most of it is done with a palette knife. There is some brushwork at the beginning. So I thought this might be a nice tutorial as well. Something similar again. Not exactly the same, but something just slightly different. So that's going to be next week. So I'm thinking we have the next 2 weeks covered as far as tutorials go. Yes, what do you think about that? Let me know what you think. I just think it's a nice, it's a nice tutorial and it's a nice lesson just to get you used to using the brush and using very free, loose brushwork. There's no detail involved. There's no being very careful with little pointy brushes and all that kind of thing. None of that. It's just a few brushes and a palette knife, and just lash the paint on and just have a bit of fun. So that's my plan for next week anyway, something nice and colourful. I think it's quite nice. So there we go. I'm going to get stuff ready here, get my canvas and stuff ready, and I am going to start painting this very exciting little scene. I won't go into too much details about the story to it, but it's just a wonderful little scene to try and capture the real kind of feeling and emotion in this kind of a subject. So let's go and have a bit of fun with this. Grab your brushes and canvas and your paints and join me. Let's practice some techniques with oil painting. Don't go anywhere, I'll see you in just a moment. Okay, you can see the picture on your screen there now. It's very similar to the other one that I just showed you, but it's just from a slightly different angle, that's all. And we can add some little bits of smoke and perhaps a little bit of fire just here and there, just to make it that bit more dramatic, yes? What do you think about that? Now, let me just check my microphone is in the right place here. Trying to get this thing to stay in the right place is a nightmare. I must invest in a decent microphone. That's what I must do. Okay. Now, you can see I do have a couple of colours. In the original one I used about 3 colours. I used a little bit of yellow just for the fire, just a hint of it, but it's a very limited palette. Titanium white, Naples yellow, burnt sienna, some burnt umber and some black. The white is only there just for a little touch of the fire at the very end. So you could disregard yellow really. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I wouldn't include white as a colour because I prefer to use white just as a toner as opposed to an actual colour. So you could say we have 4 colours, which is quite limited. So a nice limited palette today, and we're going to have a bit of fun with this. So the first thing I must do is take a sup of my coffee. That's the most important part of any painting, isn't it? Lovely, lovely rich coffee. Wake me up a little. Now let's do a little bit of drawing with this. Let me just grab a pencil. What's What's wrong with this thing? This microphone is driving me crazy. There, that's better. So you can see we have a tall building here, don't we? I'm going to come in around... Well, I'll come in a good bit now with this. Come in straight down there, we have another section there. This will probably be the focal point of the painting, I think. And the side of the building, which is all broken away, comes down like that, and it kind of goes off then, like this. And I'm going to stop this one about here. So there's a big mound of earth, broken concrete. The building is falling down and it's all bits and pieces. And it's the same over here, a big mound of rubble. Now, to get some perspective in the painting, you can see the bottom set of windows here is at a slight angle like that. So I'm just going to put those in at a slight angle, very slight angle, so they're going off into the distance, you see. And then higher up we have another one which comes down much further, doesn't it? Comes down like that. Now it's even more so on the photograph, but I don't want it to look kind of too funny, if you understand what I mean. And that gives us a nice little bit of perspective. Now let's put in some windows. There's a very slight hint of some windows up here as well. And the bottom of the windows then will follow this line here. And now on the photograph you cannot see the top of the windows, but I'm going to put them in anyway. Like so. And we have another two underneath. I'm just trying to get these reasonably close to what we have on the photograph, and the bottom one is going to be less of an angle then. Now I'm just following this line across just to try and get the correct distances, and it comes down like that and down like that. Doesn't matter if they have a little wiggle on them or whatever, it's absolutely fine. And then the bottom is, now it's very dark on the photograph, it's a kind of suggestion of some arches or something like that. Perhaps it's the extension of the building has gone and falling away or something. It's just something like that. And we also have some buildings up here. I might put a hint of some of them. So for example, I put a suggestion of the little chimney pot on one here, and then it comes across and it comes down like that. You see, it's all very, very loose. It's a very loose suggestion, and it kind of wiggles up like that, doesn't it? This building has completely gone almost, so it comes up slightly higher here. I do want to be reasonably accurate with this. I do want to be kind of, you know, I want it to look fairly close to what we're painting, that's all. And let's see, now it comes across, and we have another point of a building here. So you can see, I'm only just being very, very loose on with all of this. And we have another building up here. I'm not 100% sure which part of Cork City this is. You know, I haven't kind of researched the photograph or anything like that. I probably should have, but I didn't. Now, we have the footpath. I want to suggest the footpath kind of coming along here. It would have came down like that, and then we'll have one coming down like this. Now that gives us a nice bit of perspective there, doesn't it? So I think that's all we need to do. I think it's safe to say now we could probably just start painting away and start putting on colour. I have a very small selection of brushes today. Okay, just a couple of small flats, my medium stubby, my small stubby, couple of pointy brushes, any little pointy brushes at all will do fine, and a fan brush. So I'm going to take, I think now I'll start with my medium stubby brush. And if you're looking for these brushes, just email me and I can send them to you. Okay, I have these in stock. They're fantastic brushes. Just send me an email. You'll see the email at the end of the link anyway. So, I'm going to dampen my brush very slightly, and I'm going to just dry it on some tissue, okay? Just take off the excess just like that. Very, very quickly. 1, 2. And it's a very, very bright sky, isn't it? I'm just going to take some white, and I might take a touch of Naples yellow, just a little touch. Now that's a little bit thick for me, it may be a little bit thick at the beginning, so I'll dampen just the corner of my brush, just very quickly, just kind of in and out, and that'll thin out the paint ever so slightly. Now, plenty of white in this. So we have a very, very kind of, I don't know if it's showing through now on camera, but it's a very kind of a bright white, I could call it. See, it's a very bright white, yeah. It's sort of a sunlit kind of a colour. So a very sunlit kind of a sky colour. Fill in the windows very quickly. Just stick a bit in there. And put it across. Now I will go over some of these buildings down here. You don't have to go around all these little buildings absolutely perfect. As it comes further down, I'm going to just add more white. So I'm just putting on now plenty of thick white here with my brush. You can't see it, you cannot see it on the canvas, but I'm just literally picking up a little dab of white and I'm scraping it across the canvas, softening it in here and there. And the reason I'm putting on a good bit of white is because I don't want it drying too quickly. I want to be able to soften some colours into the white without having to worry about it soaking in and drying on me too quickly. So there we go, that's that done. Then moving around, let me just get the paint off my brush. My brush is very badly worn, by the way. Very, very badly worn. Tiny touch of Naples yellow again. And go up here and just go in behind this broken down building. And I'll take a little touch of white again and push that white in to the rest of the colour, okay? And that's basically our sky pretty much done. Again, nothing dramatic, just a simple bright sky. What I might do actually, looking at the photograph now, I know the photograph is very sort of kind of a very vintage type of a photograph. I might just add a touch of Naples yellow, perhaps just along the top, very, very kind of loosely, just a touch here and there. Okay, just a little. I mean, that's even enough. That'll do fine. Okay, I'll put this brush down and I'm going to take a sup of coffee. Ah, there we go. That's hit the spot. And I'm going to take my small stubby brush. So I'm going to start mixing now colours just for the very distant buildings way off. And the colours I used in the other one, if I can remember correctly, I took a touch of sienna, I took lots of white. See now, can you see what I'm doing there? Okay, you can. Lots of white, and I took a touch of black, believe it or not. And that gives you a very kind of a warm grey, a kind of a pastel type of a grey. Now loads of white in this because these are very, very far off. I'm going to suggest one or two very, very distant buildings way off in the distance. Now let me just check. That's not too bad. Again, I'm kind of using my artistic license here, and I'm just going to kind of add suggestions of little things myself. Okay, little building off there. Perhaps I could fill this one in as well. This little one just at the side. So you can see the sienna warms it slightly, but it's still, with the white, it's still very, very faded, isn't it? Now I'll take a touch more black. I'll go for a slightly stronger colour, and I'll come along and I'll pop this one in here, just very loosely. This is all going to be very loosely now, very loose suggestion of buildings and whatnot, because there's so much going on in the painting, there's so much stuff to look at in the painting that you will get kind of confused with details. So in other words, a lot of the details just sort of merge together. It's pretty much impossible to tell what's what, whether it's a wall or a rock or somebody walking or whatnot. Do you understand? So I'm just going to keep everything very, very loose and suggestive. Now what I'm going to do with that one very far off there is I'm going to take my soft blender brush and I'm going to very gently soften that just into the sky way off in the distance, you see? And it just sort of pushes it away back, doesn't it? I think that pushes it away back. And then I'm going to continue on with this one here and I'll add a few extra little shapes here and there on this building. Okay? Just to suggest little detail, that's all. And I'm doing all this now. It's great that it's wet into wet because you can get some lovely soft effects. You can blend colours together, you can lighten them. Now we have a little dark patch here, so I'm going to take some lamp black. Now that's too much, so I'll wipe it on my tissue, wipe it off. I'll take a touch of burnt umber, look, and I'll mix them with that black. It's very, very dry now. There's no turpentine in this. It's a very dry mix. And I'm going to just suggest some extra little parts of the building here and there. You see? It's all very loose. And you're going to hear me say that word a lot in this tutorial because loose is the key. That's what you want. You want to be loose, nice and free, loose, not worrying anything about details whatsoever. I'm just suggesting some details, that's all. And your mind will fill in the rest, as they say. Isn't that right? You see? It's just very... I'm just creating little shapes, that's all. And now let me see. Okay, we have another building here next to it. I might make that one slightly brighter. Okay, let's go for some Naples yellow. And I'll mix everything here now on the one spot with some white. That gives us a kind of a very pale, sort of a mustardy kind of a colour. No, that's a bit too mustardy for me. I'm going to take more white and instead of the Naples yellow, a touch of sienna. Small, small, small touch of sienna. That's a bit warmer. And I'll fill this one in here with some of the sienna, a little touch of white. And you may feel, as you go along, you may feel that the paint is a bit too thick and too dry. So all you have to do is just dip in to your turpentine, just a tiny, tiny little bit, and it'll loosen it up a little bit for you. Now I'm going to use this opportunity while I have this light colour on my palette, just to knock in a couple of highlights here and there, you see, with the same colour, rather than having to mix a new fresh batch of colour. So with my dry brush again, I'm going to pick up a little touch of burnt umber and a little touch of black, and I'll come along here, put in some more darker sections on this building here and there. You see, again, I'm just suggesting. Now, how's that looking? Okay, well, coming along quite nice, aren't we? I might, let me see now, I'll go as far as here, I think. I'll dampen my brush very slightly, pick up some of that colour, some brown, touch of black, and I might come across here, fill that in first, and I'll show you then what I'm going to do. Okay, okay, let's make it kind of higgledy-piggledy, little suggestions of little bits and bobs here and there. Then I'll take my small pointy brush, right? I have a small pointy brush here, nice small pointy one. It's below size 0, and I'll take a touch of black, just a tiny touch of black on the brush, on the tip of the brush, and suggest one or two little details, look. Okay, just one or two. I'm only just putting in a series of marks basically. Small, tiny little marks with the brush. You see? And that's fine. Now leave it there as it is, and I'm going to take another brush, another small, flat little brush. It's dry, I'll take some white, and now I'm going to create the impression of some smoke coming up here and there. So for now, just some white, okay? And let's go here. So we have smoke from a little bit of a fire from the burnt down building. Clean the brush when it gets dirty, go back in again, pick up more, and go back onto it again. And what's going to happen now is I'm picking up this grey colour here, so it's going to pick that up and create a darker colour for the sky, you see. So now we have a nice little smoky colour coming off into the sky, like so. Isn't that nice? Now would you like me to zoom in, or what will I do? I think I'll zoom in and try and keep the palette for you if I can. I don't want to spoil the entire tutorial for you. Now, is that okay? And we can do this little section here then, yes? So we did some nice smoke there now. I'm going to soften that very gently into the buildings, just here and there, to create a nice kind of a foggy effect. Okay? No, that's fine. That'll do absolutely fine. Let's come across now and start putting in this one here. And as it comes closer to us, it's going to get darker and darker, isn't it? And that's what gives you the impression of depth and distance. So I'm taking some black, some burnt umber, and a touch of Naples yellow. I'm just going to try that for now. It's a little bit thick, so I'm going to just thin it very, very slightly. Again, just picking up a tiny little amount of turpentine. And let me try this now and see how that looks. Okay, I'll go with that. And I'm going to just fill in the shapes very quickly, very loosely. Don't forget, this is not the final colour. I can add lighter colours into this if it's a little too strong. Okay, so not to worry. And let's very loosely put in a little suggestion of the broken walls, and you know, look, the buildings are falling down. They're not going to be very straight, are they? So I'm going to take some white, perhaps add a little white into it. So as I'm going along, you see, I'm just dabbing here and there, adding little shapes, little suggestions of, it could be anything. It could be a wall, it could be just the building itself, it could be part of an extension starting to fall down, you know, it could be anything. So fill in this one here at the back. And it's kind of strange, you know, I was sitting in bed last night looking through my phone, trying to get ideas for something to paint, you know, and I kind of came across that picture of Cork when it was being burned down in 1920 from the War of Independence, and it just kind of came up on Google, and I just had a look at it, and I thought, you know what, it might be nice to try something like this. And I kind of flicked on by, and for ages and ages my mind just kept going back to that picture, because there's something, I don't know, there's something about that picture which I don't know what it's very difficult to describe. There's a lot of emotion in a picture like that, and I didn't want to be, you know, I know everybody has their own views on that particular event, and I don't want to be upsetting anyone or whatever, you know, but it's just something I felt I just had to paint. Something inside me told me, Stephen, you just have to paint this. It would look fantastic as a painting. And that's all it is, it's just a painting. And I just want to show you how I created that type of a painting. That's it. That's all I'm here, that's all I'm doing. So I thought it would be fun to try and create this kind of a nostalgic feeling on a painting. Get a certain kind of a feeling and a mood from the painting. So here I am. So look, let's try it and see how it goes. Now, I just picked up a little touch of black, look, and I'm just adding a tiny touch of black in here and there. I'm just kind of dabbing the brush downwards, sometimes across ways, just to suggest parts of the building, that's all. When you step back then it just looks like detail, but it's not detail, it's just little brush strokes, that's all it is, you see? Now, that's not bad, but I'm going to add a touch with my dry brush, a touch of white and perhaps a touch of Naples yellow as well. I'm going to just add a touch of that here and there on some of it, look. And because the brush is flat, has a flat edge, it's creating this lovely texture. If this was a round brush now, it would be actually very, very difficult to create this type of a texture on the wall. But the flat edge brush is fantastic. That's why I love using flat brushes for my artwork. It gives a lovely shape. There we go. So that's not bad now, is it? Look. And then I take a small pointy brush, and I'm going to get some detail going now with just some. I'm thinking just some burnt umber for now. I suggest some little details like the windowsill here, the window ledge rather, and I'll put in a suggestion of a window here. I can see one on the photograph, but it's kind of hidden amongst all the rubble, if you know what I mean. And I'll put in a suggestion of a shadow just coming down here, and perhaps one or two there. The details really are only just to add a little bit of interest to the painting, really, that's all. As I keep saying, I'm not actually painting anything in particular, I'm just trying to suggest a few little details, like this chimney top here, you see? There's a little chimney cap, and there's another one here. I'll just put in one or two, and then your mind sort of fills in the rest. It's amazing, really. Okay, a couple kind of bits and bobs. I suppose that's probably the easiest way of describing what I'm doing, bits and bobs. Isn't that right? Lots of bits and bobs. Little suggestions, little lines. So I'd leave it at that. I think that's not too bad. What I might do actually just take a touch, maybe a touch of white with the Naples yellow, and suggest perhaps one or two little windows here and there where it might be kind of showing through to the background. So here, for example. Now, I shall leave that well alone. What I might do is soften some of this area off in the distance here, because I'm not too sure about that. I might just soften it very gently in. Okay, just very, very gently into the background, you see? It just gives it a bit of a softer feeling, doesn't it? Now what I'm going to do next, I'm just going to get another brush. There we go. I'll just pull an old brush, any brush at all, small little rough brush. Now there's no smoke here on this, but I'm going to suggest some smoke. I think it would be nice. So I'll take some white, and I'm just going to suggest some little bits of smoke kind of popping up here and there, you see? It's very, very simple to do. With a dry brush, take a little bit of white, and you can do this now in any type of painting, any landscape you have. Take a little touch of white on the tip of your brush and just give it a little swirl. But I don't mix it too much. Do you understand? Don't mix it on the canvas too much, because you'll smudge everything together. So I kind of go on and do a very sharp sort of brush stroke, just right in like that, and then leave it. Let's try that again. Let's put a little bit more down the bottom here, you see? There we go. And it's picking up some of the darker colour, you see, and that's making my nice grey for the sky then, for the smoke, you see? Very, very simply done. Don't be afraid. I know now you're going to be looking at your painting, whether it's a cottage or whether it's your own building or something, and you're going to be looking at it thinking, no, I'm not going to spoil this building. Don't worry, you won't spoil anything, I promise. In fact, once you have it done, you will be thrilled. You'll be very, very happy with yourself that you took the extra step. Come on, you can do it. Look, you can even dab. See, I'm just dabbing with the brush. So there's a bit of smoke popping up here and there. And I might just put a tiny bit, let me think actually. Would it be nice to put a piece here? I'm cutting through this dark section just to break that up a little. How about that? I think that just helps. Yeah, that kind of helps, doesn't it? And look, all I'm doing is dabbing as well. You can even dab. You don't have to put it around in swirls at all. You can just dab it if you like. Off up into the sky with the smoke. There you go. I know now that's not in the photograph, but I think it's nice just to add it in there. Just to create more of that kind of effect. Now, I'll start adding some colours in. We can even use this brush again. I'll dampen it very, very slightly. It's barely damp now. Take some black, some burnt sienna, lots of white. That gives us a nice kind of a muddy colour, doesn't it? And again, tiny drop of turpentine. And let me just have a look now how that kind of feels. Yeah, I'll go with that. So I'll put that in here, and I'm now going to kind of suggest lots of rubble. So this is going to be lots of rubble here. And as it comes over, then it goes off into the distance, doesn't it? I'll take a touch of white with some black to make it more of a grey, and I'll kind of fiddle it, I'll kind of soften it into all those colours way off. So everything sort of merges together then, doesn't it? Okay, you see? And it just merges together. I'm going to make it lighter with some white way off here and suggest this road, you see? So I'm just picking out the road very, very slightly. Just with a little white. Okay? And then I'm going to take another brush. I'll take another round brush. Let me see. I'll take a little round one. It's slightly thicker, so size 1. And I'm going to start adding some little suggestions of details. Now they're not details, they're just little marks with the brush of the bits of rock and stone and the rubble. You know, it's very difficult to paint rubble and to make it look like rubble, because all it is really is lots of little dots and dashes all over the place with the brush, you see? That's all. All you can do is suggest, well, all I like to do is suggest an impression of lots of rubble, and you can fill in the blanks yourself then, you see. So let's suggest some rubble. Again, don't be afraid. Just go for it. Sometimes, even I'm the same. Sometimes when I'm sitting down doing a painting, and I don't want to spoil something, I kind of sit back and I think, do I really want to do this? Do I really have to put it in? Because I don't want to spoil my painting. But then once it's done, it's like a weight lifted. It's really a great feeling. So just, come on, just go for it. It's slightly darker in here now as well, so I'm going to take some black with burnt umber, and I'm just going to darken this part in here. All I can do really is just dab with the brush and create a very rough look for the rubble. That's all I'm doing. See? And even scraping the brush, look, here and there, just to create some texture on the canvas, that's all. This is where the canvas grain is very, very important. And this is how you use a canvas grain as well. You take full advantage of those little grains on the canvas. Full advantage, and you use it. So there. Already, you can see it's starting to come along, can't you? Now my next step is just basically do the very same with some highlights. So I'll take a little Naples yellow and some white. Okay, a little mix, and I'm just going to suggest some little rocks and all that sort of stuff. Look. You can even suggest some little, look, an impression of some little posts and whatnot. It could be a bit of everything. With a scene like this, it could be anything. Something on the floor, a bit of metal just sitting there, or a bit of concrete, a chunk of concrete. Already you can see it coming together, can't you? And it's very easily done. Now I might take a touch of brown and black and just put like, indicate a solid object like a piece of wall or something. Rather, just to break it up, rather than having lots of little dots and dashes and that kind of thing. You see, just to kind of break it up. That's all. Now a touch of sienna with a touch of Naples yellow, perhaps, and I'll indicate a few little lights with that. So although it's a kind of a monochrome kind of a painting, there's still a little touch of colour here and there, isn't there? I think. Now, okay, we're looking good. I might lighten with some Naples yellow and white. I might lighten this area here because it's quite bright on the photograph, isn't it? And it's quite nice. I like that kind of effect. So I might just lighten it with a little Naples yellow and just kind of drag it across here and there. And I'll also take a touch of white with some sienna and just lighten some of those. Now I said earlier I was going to add a hint of fire, didn't I? Now we still can. I might add just a tiny hint of it here. I'll take some yellow, I'll take some sienna, yellow and burnt sienna, and with those two colours, just very gently, I'm going to dab a tiny hint of that just here and there, look. So that could be one. And we could do another one, perhaps just down here. And you can see now it's just really very, very loose. Couple of little dabs with the brush, that's all. And that will even be enough. You can see it's just a very, very small hint of colour just off there in the distance, isn't it? And I go back into some white, and I'm going to lighten this even more because it's still not quite bright enough for me yet. Then pick up some of that slightly darker colour and suggest just a hint of the line on the footpath there. That's all. And that's that section pretty much finished now, to be quite honest. I think that's, you know, we can keep adding to this as we need to. For instance, look, we could suggest someone just walking along here. Okay. Someone walking and a little shadow. See? That's one person done already. And perhaps give him a little highlight. There. Done. Next we're going to move on to this lovely section here. So let me just zoom back now very slightly for you again. And isn't that just gorgeous? Look how that's coming on. Isn't it lovely? It's very, very, very exciting as you paint along and you can see it kind of coming together. It's really exciting. I must take a cup of coffee. I do beg your pardon. And my coffee's gone cold. You see? That's what happens. You get caught up in the moment and your coffee goes cold. And sure, it's no more good then, is it? Right. I think I'll use the medium stubby brush this time. And I'm going to just take a nice strong colour for that. So, slightly damp brush again. Let's go for some black and some burnt sienna. And a little white. Okay. Now, if it seems a little wet, which it is, I think it's a little too wet, I might just add a touch of white into that. The white will then thicken it up, and then a touch more black and a touch more sienna, you see? So we just go along and take little touches of each colour until you get what you need. Now let me try that. Okay, I'm thinking a bit darker, perhaps some burnt umber. We try some burnt umber this time for a change. So I go along here now, and I will just go around my windows very carefully. Well, not very carefully, but you know what I mean. I'll just come down here, put in the outside, give it a little wiggle. Look, it's not perfectly straight. And go along underneath the windows like this. We go along the top of the windows. And we come down the side of the building like this. So as I get to the bottom end here now, I'm going to just pick up a little black with the tip of my brush, and I'm going to just sort of dab and scrape some black into that colour, because it's very, very dark, and it's kind of, the walls are very kind of scalded from the heat. Is that what you would say? Burnt. So dab a little bit of black into it there, look. And that creates a lovely texture, doesn't it? And we could even dab a touch of that colour, say, along here. Do you know where the kind of the beam is? And perhaps a little touch just around some of the windows up here. So the fire comes out the top of the windows and it kind of burns the wall, doesn't it? I'm just being very loose with this now. I'm just kind of assuming that's what would happen. Right, clean the brush. And we'll go along and we'll do this side here. This side I'm going to make it slightly brighter, only slightly. So I'll take a touch of Naples yellow, with a touch of white and a touch of black as well. So we just have a slightly lighter kind of a grey. And this one just has a little bit of a wiggle on the edge. It's all kind of cracked and broken, isn't it? Then we come down and it kind of steps out like that. We have a very badly damaged wall. This is actually quite dry, to be quite honest. The paint is quite dry on this, and I'm kind of scraping it into the grain of the canvas. That's all I'm doing. Okay, we have a little piece there. Now, I'll do the very same thing that I did on the front. So I'll maybe take a little touch of burnt umber and a touch of the black, and kind of soften some of that in, here and there, very roughly with the brush. See? And perhaps take a touch more black at the bottom. I hope we're getting some kind of hints and tips out of this, and I hope you try these techniques in your own painting. You could just make up a building of your own, just to try it. And it's lots of fun, it really is. I promise, it's lots of fun. Now I'm switching to my medium brush, and I'm going to take some brown and some black, and I come down the side of this and just suggest a kind of a broken kind of a wall that should be there, but it's not. And then give it lots of texture. I'll pick up some burnt umber just on its own, and I'll come out here and then come down. That gives the impression of a kind of a window ledge, or the ledge of a roof or something. So everything you see is kind of softening together. They're not very strong kind of harsh lines. Does that make sense? No, I just want to soften something off in the distance there. It's just not, just doesn't feel right to me for some reason, so I'm just softening it very gently. That's enough, that'll do fine. Okay, let's sit back. Let's just sit back and take a quick look at what we have. Right, yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. I will take some sienna with some white, And I'll go up here and just add a touch of lighter colour here and there to the building. I'm cleaning my brush regularly as well. Don't forget, you have to clean your brush regularly. And add a touch of light colour just here and there on that. Again, I'm only just kind of fiddling and just suggesting light patches and dark patches on the wall, that's all. Again, you know, it's all just a very loose kind of impression. And the more you put on, the more texture you're going to get. Now there is one very dark section just here, isn't there? I want to really make that nice and dark, so I'm taking some burnt umber and some black, and I'm going to really go to town on this section. But bear in mind, the more paint you put on, the muddier it's going to get, and the more difficult it will be to get it to stay there. Understand? So I'm not mixing too much into the background colour, if you know what I mean. I'm just putting it on and leaving it. I'm not going to keep going over and over and over the same patch numerous times, because you'll only end up making mud. There we go. That's fine. That'll do fine. I'll switch to my small pointy brush now, and I'm going to just put some dark colour, very dark black lines, just around some of the windows. Just to indicate the reveal, the way the window turns. And again, I'm not being perfectly straight with any of these. It's an old burnt down building. It's going to be a little kind of wiggly and a little wobbly here and there. See? Okay. Have a look at that. That looks quite good. While I have this brush in my hand, I'll go ahead and start putting in some little details here and there. And you can see, look, I'm being very loose with the brush. Even just with 2 fingers, and just look, put some lines across here and there. It's all suggestive. And maybe take a touch of white. Suggest some arches down here. Well, let's step back and take a quick look at this.